Welcome to a brand new episode of Exposed. I'm one of your hosts, Jessica Deer.
And I'm Neogurate Cross.
We have a lot in store for you in this month's episode. As we mentioned last month, our new format of the show, we want it to be something a little more interactive and of course still exposing the issues that matter to Ganawaga's youth. One of the issues that Ganawaga's youth seems to be affected by regularly is being stereotyped with vandalism. And unfortunately, this month on Mad Night in Ganawaga, it's known as like the day before Halloween, there was an incident involving a group of teenagers.
So Jessica, you spoke to a peacekeeper about this earlier?
I did. I spoke to Peacekeeper Investigator Warren White. So let's take a look at that interview. So I'm outside the Ganawaga Peacekeeper Station. I'm going to be interviewing Peacekeeper Investigator Warren White to see what happened on Mad Night. So can you tell me about the incident, the act of vandalism that occurred on October 30th, Mad Night, known in Ganawaga, involving a group of teenagers?
Well, that occurred on Mad Night, about 10:30 at night. There was a call that was received by our department here, reporting an incident on the 207 right near Wild Bill's store. The officers responded to the call. Okay, they met with a driver that drove for the Pizza Domino's. When they spoke to the driver, he informed the officers that when he came to the stop sign, he was surrounded by about 15 younger people. And at one point, they threw eggs at his vehicle, and then two of the individuals would have jumped onto the hood of the car and smashed the windshield. The driver was nervous, scared, and the youths that had surrounded his vehicle had fled. But as they fled, the driver was able to identify by a general description one individual that actually broke the windshield. About an hour later, the patrolman on patrol observed an individual that bore the same description that was given to them by the driver of the delivery vehicle. The officer approached that individual, attempted to speak to him. The person ignored the police officer. The officer advised him that he was going to be detaining him for questioning, grabbed a hold of him, and the individual resisted his detention. And the individual was with two other individuals, two other males. They turned, and they approached the officer. They threatened to push him, hit him. The officer informed them that if they continued, he would pepper spray them. The officer also called for backup. His other officers telling him that he was in a situation. They responded as quickly as they can, which resulted in them having to detain all three individuals. All three individuals are minors. They're from our community. They deny any knowledge of being involved in any activity that would have damaged any vehicle.
And right now, are they facing any charges?
They could be charged with mischief. That would be damage to the vehicle that sustained damage to the windshield and to the hood of the car. Right now, the investigation is still continuing. We believe that they will be charged. We're just waiting for the final report from the officer that confronted the individuals.
And what exactly does that entail?
What would entail is that the file would be submitted to a Crown prosecutor in the juvenile court. If the juvenile court agrees to lay an accusation against those individuals, they would receive a notice that they are to appear in court.
Do these sorts of incidents only happen on Mad Night?
Well, that's a good possibility because these kind of activities don't happen at all, other than on Mad Night. Well, over the years, I think when we go back, there's other evenings that are probably more traumatic to certain people. The patrolmen obviously are the ones that have to put up with all of the shenanigans that are going on. It's slowly de-escalated, but last night that night was something unusual again that happened.
It being Mad Night, Does the Peacekeepers put out extra patrols?
That night there was extra patrols. There was also members of our community out there. There was also the fire brigade, the conservation officers, a whole group of people that were monitoring what was going on within our community. And whatever they were seeing, they were informing our officers here about what they were seeing so that our officers could effectively go to those different areas.
And do you have anything else to add?
Well, I think, it's an unfortunate incident. There was other incidents that occurred that night. There was also an elderly woman that was hit by a paintball, near the MCK building. I think that's terrible to happen to an elderly person from our community. It tells us that some of the youth have no respect in terms of how they were treating individuals that night. I hope this is not something that's going to continue. I hope it was just an isolated incident, and I believe it was. And let's keep it that way, and so that people can walk within our community in a safe manner.
So it really is unfortunate that something like this happened on Mad Night.
Yeah, there's a lot of issues that come into play when an incident like this happens,
I know, well, one of them, that first thing that comes to mind is, well, in the past few years, Mad Night has been like fairly quiet, and there hasn't been anything like this that has happened. But like when I was a teenager, my parents didn't even really like let me out on that night because like they, like, not that I would ever do anything like, egging and TPing, but just the fact that, they don't want you to be in the wrong place at the wrong time, and where there's like kids being like, I guess, mischievous. So like I don't understand why parents will like let their, teenagers out on that night in the first place.
Exactly, there's like a line between a simple prank and a, like an act of vandalism, but I'm sure it started out as a prank and just escalated, and once it reaches a certain point, you can't go back and redo the damage that's done.
Yeah, and with the whole like egging and TPing, in this incident, like the Domino's pizza car was egged, and like I think that those are like the two type of things that are like, I guess, more like people are just like, oh, whatever, it's just like your car got egged, your house got egged, but I mean it still is like defacing property, and then like you said, once it like goes past like a certain line, then it's like it's just like incredibly like disrespectful, and like I don't understand why a teenager or anyone for that matter like has the urge to do something like that. And then like it just like I said earlier, it's like stereotyping youth, and there's a lot of youth in the community who have been like outraged by what happened, because it makes all of us look bad. And in addition to not only youth, it gives a black eye on the entire community, because the person's car who was affected was a non-native delivery guy from Domino's Pizza. So
he's going to take that back to the outside and say that to them, and and without them having any knowledge of really what happens here, there's where the stereotype comes from, an incident like this.
And in terms of one of the incidents that happened that night too, that Warren White had discussed, was an elderly woman was hit with a paintball, and you actually know that elderly woman.
Yeah, it was really upsetting to hear that, because, she is an elderly woman, and in our culture, it's to respect women and respect your elders all the time, and it's just so unfortunate, what if she really could have gotten hurt or something, if she's lucky to not have gotten...
Like, those paintballs actually hurt, like, that's why, like, when they actually, like, play it as a sport, they're wearing, like, all types of padding and stuff, and, like, you can get a pretty good bruise from it.
Exactly, so, an elderly woman, like, what makes you think that it's not gonna hurt her or could have done more damage to her,
I just hope that the youth who were involved in this are justifiably, like, punished for what they did, because, like, there's really no excuse, and like stuff like that shouldn't be happening in our community.
Exactly, exactly.
So with that, we're going to take a quick commercial break, and we'll be back with more Exposed.